Welcome back to Piers Morgan Uncensored, live from New York City. The first instalment of my explosive world-exclusive interview with one of the most brilliant but controversial artists in the world. Ye, formerly known as Kanye West, has already hit over 1 million views on YouTube. He and I went head-to-head for 2 hours yesterday on everything from anti-Semitism to George Floyd to White Lives Matter, the T-shirt he wore, Kim Kardashian, of course, his ex-wife, and Donald Trump. Here's a taste of what's to come in our 2-hour special tomorrow.
The interview everyone has been waiting for.
You're being a Karen.
I'm not a Karen.
Piers Morgan speaks exclusively to Ye, explaining his controversial comments on George Floyd.
As the most influential person on the planet, I am questioning it.
Kim Kardashian.
Would you like one day to get back with Kim?
And his anti-Semitic tweet that got him kicked off Twitter.
It is racism when you say I'm going death for Jewish people.
No, it's not. Interview adjourned.
And then he walks out of the interview. And then he walks back in and apologizes.
I will say I'm sorry for the people that I hurt.
Piers Morgan Uncensored. Exclusive 2-hour special. Friday, 8 p.m.
And there's a lot more where that came from. It was 2 of the most extraordinary hours I've probably ever had, I think, as an interviewer. Ye is no normal interview subject. He mocks my British accent. He delights in being uncensored and then really tests the waters of our lack of censorship. He's rude about a lot of people. He's warm in parts where I didn't expect him to be. He's funny. He's outrageous. He's shocking. He tries to defend the indefensible, but then apologizes for it. So it's a really fascinating watch. That'll be tomorrow night from 8 till 10 on TalkTV. Natalie Evans, I mean, we knew him as Kanye. Yeah. He's now Ye. Everything about him is kind of fascinating, but he's been through a pretty awful few weeks of saying deeply inflammatory things about the Jewish people, about George Floyd, about White Lives Matter T-shirts, enraging community after community. Mm-hmm. What do you think of him? What's going on with him right now?
Well, I think he's clearly a very confused, very vulnerable guy who, I mean, as you said in your interview, you know, he has this huge platform, you know, he's the most influential person in the world. And perhaps the mental state he's in, we all know he's got, you know, mental health issues.
So he denies he has any mental illness. He said that to me. He said his main problem is sleep deprivation, which might well be the case because he's got one of those, I can tell he's got an incredibly restless, curious, fizzing mind. Wow. This is why he goes off on tangents all the time. Very hard to interview, but sort of compelling challenge as well. But I think there's something about his mind that's just not, it's not normal. No. Whether it qualifies as mental illness, he says not.
Well, I mean, if it was sleep deprivation, there'd be far more of us running our mouths on Twitter and our social media platforms.
Is it any defence for what some of the stuff he's been saying?
I don't think so, no. I mean, it was fascinating to watch your interview, the clips that we've seen. It was quite a journey with him, you know. I mean, a fantastic scoop. We'd be very proud of that. It was on our site. But, you know, for him to come out, you know, this whole concept of I'm fighting fire with fire, you know, it's one thing to, you know, stand your ground, be defensive. But he's also, I mean, he's like a kid in the playground that's like, oh, you know, that guy punched me, so I punched him back. It doesn't make it right. He can say he's been the victim of racism. That doesn't mean that he should target other groups. You know, it incites hate in different directions. And as someone with that profile, he shouldn't be doing that.
Yeah. No, I think it was interesting because he started off wanting to double down everything and was quite belligerent and almost sort of offhand about it. But then the longer he stayed, he walked off at one stage giving me an ultimatum. Yeah. He said, I'll only apologise for what I said about the Jewish people if all these business people who've ripped him off, as he says, get round a table and, you know, apologise to me. But he went away and thought about it. And when he came back, he then actually did issue quite a sincere apology to any Jewish people who've been offended by what he said and said they weren't the target of his anger. I think he's got a lot of pain and anger going on, Kanye, from all sorts of different directions. His upbringing, the breakup of his marriage, maybe not seeing his kids enough, I don't know. But I got to say, there are moments of great levity in this interview. He's very entertaining. He's compelling to watch. And by the end, I kind of felt, I just don't think he's the devil. He's certainly not the angel you may want people to think he is. But it'd be interesting what people think.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the kind of, it was fantastic the way you actually did kind of tease that apology out of him. You know, he clearly was not looking to do that. And yeah, maybe storming off again. I mean, but a lot of the parts of the interview were quite childlike.
Well, there's a bit when he says to me, you know, I'm trying to give him advice about if I were you, I think I would think about what I said.
Like, la, la.
He says, la, 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 la. And then he says, how rich are you? Well, not as rich as you, obviously. And he said, exactly, so why should I take your advice? Is it somehow only money is the currency for being able to offer wisdom? Yeah. And I said to him, well, why don't you actually listen to my advice? And if you like what you hear, then it has nothing to do with money.
Yeah, I mean, everyone is perfectly fine to disagree. I mean, I completely agree with you. He's been through a lot, and he's been through it on a very, very public forum. You know, it's no easy thing to go through.
But it doesn't, you know what? It doesn't defend the indefensible.
No, not
He said
at all.
some indefensible things, but I call him out on those, and it's an interesting challenge. Natalie, thank you very much indeed. Good to see you.